All right, Coach, not the result you look for, but you do win your first set for the first time in a few matches. What did you see out of this team tonight?
Yeah, you see a team that's tired of losing. We're being competitive and we're just chipping away, and it's hard to see the long game sometimes, especially against the level of competition that we're playing. These are top 25 teams back to back to back to back, and no easy days. And we've been competitive, but I thought there was just much more fight. So as I told them in the locker room, you can learn so much more when you just put yourself out there and minimize some of those runs that we've seen in the past. Had a few of them tonight, but we also went on some scoring runs from the service line.
Yeah, well, you managed to get that second set there after falling in the first set there. Like, what was kind of that switch? Do you think there was any kind of switch between the first and second set that helped push you over the hump?
Well, I think we came out of the gates really well, and there was just that lull in the middle. They were hitting 0 after one of the first timeouts, 4-4 and 11, and then they went on a 6-kill run. It's hard to win a match when you're averaging 10 kills. That's kind of the biggest source of your points, scoring points between aces and blocks and kills, right? So if you're only scoring 10, you got to find them other ways. Now, we did have 10 blocks tonight, but so did they. And we outdug them, so we kept the ball alive a lot, but we're still working on that, being able to convert out of that dig. So still working on that, but at the same time, I thought some big progress.
Both teams also picked up quite a lot of service aces on both sides, including Ava, who went on a bit of a tear there in the second set, I believe it was.
Yep. It was. And we're still learning to manage those errors, but at least we ended up +1 in the ace to error ratio. So we're making progress in that way too, because we were almost doubling and tripling our errors to aces in the past.
When you look through sets 3 and 4, the number of errors ended up going up there. What was the difference the team, would you say, in the first half of the game versus the second half of the game match?
Well, we have 4 true pin hitters, if you don't count Sasha, who's played every attacking position for us just to fill in. We have 1 pin hitter that can practice. And, so as a result, these matches are our first time in the week playing 6-on-6. It is what it is. So it's hard to, train a team to be ready in end game, or even, not have those mid-set lulls, things like that, because they're not able to sustain. They're not doing it day in and day out. So what do? We focus on our defense. We focus on our system. We focus on our serve, the things that we can control. So I can't fault the team. There's only so much ability to sustain right now when we can't even practice.
You had, of course, Ava leading the way in the attackers, but Britt Carlson was doing quite a solid job at least from, taking advantage of the opportunities she had this time around.
She did. She ended up at 412, and that's where she was doing a lot in the preseason, and then had some, ups and downs during conference. Of course, the conference scouts you pretty darn well, and she had been a point scorer for us. So then when you get targeted, you have to learn to make adjustments, and she's still growing in her game and learning how to become a scorer, not just somebody that can hit the ball. And she did a really good job. There was a little bit of a dip in the middle for her personally, but then she came back and found the floor a few times or hitting off of high hands and frustrating the opponent.
Chloe Shear once again leading the grow at digs. Caitlin also back and forth getting double-digit digs as well. I know obviously that they're both seniors, and obviously this obviously is not that fun to go through with losing. What is it like how do they kind of keep themselves motivated as they go through this last season?
Well, we focus on our team culture. We focus on, if it's only about wins and losses, then you could chalk this season up to a complete failure. But there are small victories along the way, and I'm not talking about moral victories. We are competitive. Again, without being able to play 6-on-6, until a match day, there's so much to take away from how competitive we are, our fight, our cohesiveness. It really was a total team effort today. And that's what we have to focus on, is kind of the small components, the things that we worked on from the service line, from our organization on defense, from our adjustments that we made in game, to the opponent. those are things that we can actually build on, and that's why we end up with a 1-set win today.
You have Cam Shelton out there for a full match this time around, getting 12 receptions, even getting an ace for herself out there. What have you been seeing from her develop over this time, because you've been getting her some action these past few games?
Yeah, she's been just steadily improving, and I think while she's steadily becoming more confident out there and performing consistently, she's also been lowering her amount of errors, and that's on as much on the passing as it is on the defense, as much as it is on the serving. And so learning to be that consistent player, but it's a testament to what she does. She comes in every single day before practice to get reps. So she's putting in the work. What you're seeing is a direct correlation to the amount of effort that she's putting in.
You also sent in Megan and Sophia there at the end. I noticed you did a little bit of that type of thing on the road as well. Just what's the thought process getting some time in there in the last set?
Well, we had to because of the health of Heidi, and then day in and day out, they're all competing with one another, and you try to find some consistency, and that's what we did. But Ava needed a little bit of a rest. She's been so relied upon, again, in matches as that 6th rotation player. It gave us an opportunity for her to rest, as well as Soph to come in, who can do some damage behind the service line, and she's just really steady both in passing and defense.
So Emily Wilson now, of course, still on the sideline. Do you have any update on her status?
She's getting better every single day. We don't have an end date because she has to keep reaching benchmarks, but she's involved in our serve and pass, and she's making progress. She's taking some swings now, but she's obviously got to be game ready.
Speaking of serve and pass, last time we saw you on Halloween, what was the difference between the team we saw on Halloween versus the team we saw tonight? How that road trip kind of helped you guys this season? What'd you learn?
Definitely our passing consistency, our good pass has really shot up. We were getting ace tonight, but they're a pretty good serving team, and I would say that we have been lowering our errors too. So we're giving ourselves an opportunity to score. Now we've got to learn to capitalize on that offensively, because we're not generating enough kills. But at the same time, I would think that we're much more confident and much more in system when we are putting our platform on the ball. And then obviously we're starting to inch up in the point scoring. So we're being lowering our errors on the service side and giving ourselves a chance, and then we're finding some kills in transition.
I know last season you had that major gauntlet of the second half of the conference schedule. It feels like this part of the season is almost like maybe a mini version of it with all these top 25 teams you're going up against. These
other than KU, it's pretty much all top 25.
So what's it been like for this team to see these many top 25 teams this many times in a row? And you got another one with Utah on Saturday.
Well, it's the conference. I mean, we knew we were going into one of the top conferences in the nation, not just a Power 5 or Power 4, okay, but one of the top ones. We have the highest percentage of teams in the top 25 of any conference. So we know what to expect.
So yeah. As you kind of learn, the Twitter account announced some new signings recently. When you look at this team as it developing into this conference, just how do you view kind of that short term development versus the long term?
Well, I think last year was just because you know what to expect, you still have to experience the grind. We played a lot of top 25 teams in the preseason. That's 4 weeks. Now do it for the next 8. You just have to go through that. Now, fortunately, we had 2 middles and then a 5th year outside in Lauren Clark, who had experienced that grind already from their previous schools. So they had the ability to grind. These are a lot of new players that either redshirted last year. There aren't a whole lot that have been able to sustain because Heidi was out all last year. Emily Wilson was a 6th rotation outside for a majority of the time, but also was sidelined a little bit as well. So we don't have a whole lot of players that have experienced and really been able to sustain for that length of time. So for us, we're just trying to learn every single day. I think looking in the long term, because we're going to have so many graduations as well, it's going to be a very different team next year because we're losing 5. So it's going to look a lot different than it does this year. And so we're assembling the pieces right now between the signing class and the transfer portal. There's going to be some differences for sure.
What's it like coaching in this type of in this type of situation?
Oh, I absolutely love it. You have some seasoned coaches who've been doing it for years and learning to evolve over those years, because the game has, while some aspects have stayed the same, it's evolved with this NIL and rev share, and these are different components that add into the kind of athlete that we're getting. Still student athlete, of course, but that's a component that it's not just football and basketball that are being impacted by it. We see that as well.
You were able to steal a set tonight against a top 25 team. You have another top 25 team coming to town on Saturday. What could you learn from how you played tonight that you could apply against the Utes?
Yeah, I think we go watch some film and look at stretches where we were executing and eliciting mistakes from them. They weren't giving it to us, and we knew that we couldn't take a single set for granted. Just because we won one, we were now even. So it was starting over each time at 0-0. And I think as we go back and watch, we look at decision making. We treat every single rotation as its own mini game. So we look at the entire 4 sets in row 1. What did we do when we were receiving? What did we do when we were serving? And when we look at them as 6 mini games, we figure out, where did we come out on the positive? Where did we not? And then we start finding out patterns about ourselves and ways that we can maybe inch or turn, one of the side outs or one of the serves in our favor.
All right, awesome. Well, best of luck on Saturday, Coach.
Yep, thanks.